Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of a Wild Time podcast. Thanks for all the subscriptions, the likes, the shares. We have been on a roll so far. We've had some great guests in 2023 alone. We've had Ron Frazier, Art Jimerson, some local musicians, J.D. Hall, and Josh Crum. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is a big deal for me. Tonight, if anybody knows me and knows mixed martial arts and the love I have for it, Gabriel Gonzaga is one of my all-time favorite fighters. The man is one of the greatest UFC heavyweights of all time. He's one of the greatest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mixed martial artists of all time. And little did we know that he would become one of the best knockout artists of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Gabriel Gonzaga. Gabriel, how's it going, my man?
What's up, guys? Good.
Good, man. Listen, hey, like I said, I'm fanboying out. I've met my favorites, fighters, like I said, and to get you on here I never dreamed it. I started doing this about 3 months ago, started reaching out to some guys, and little did I know some of the people that I would have never dreamed that I would be in contact with has been really supporting and came on. So thank you, man, for coming on. And what's Pal been into lately?
I'm focused right now in my gym. I have my own Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school, Squared Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's what I'm focused right now, giving a lot of teaching for my students and build up new fighters for the future.
Man, I'll tell you what, I can remember when I first become your fan, and I can go back to the I guess it was the UFC Inside. It was right before you fought Randy for the title, and the training you were doing, picking up the heavy bags and slamming them and sand breaking down. Man, you were like this animal. Natural. You were naturally gifted. You could tell you were just like I said, an animal, like a silverback gorilla or something. The training you did back then, did it carry over to your students? A lot of the stuff how you trained then, is that what you do?
I do. Yeah, no, I started training 1994 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, gi only, no punch, a little bit of open slaps here and there as a self-defense idea. And I did transfer to mixed martial arts around 2000 after I got my black belt in 1999. And I did a lot of different training. It's more training for conditioning, get your body strong and strength. But what I do teach is the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu basic self-defense and the sports aspect. Right now we have rules and sports to compete, but it's different game. It's a different game. It's more how to learn how to protect yourself with the shape that you have. Because for a high-level competition like UFC right now, especially right now, getting better and better, and people need to be strong and athletic and move fast. Because everybody know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Before, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was a kind of few people knew, and now it's spreading so much. And if you know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and going to fight someone that know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that the strength makes the difference. But back in the day, it didn't make much difference because the skill set was the most important.
Yeah, and you go back, like you said, you go back to the early days of mixed martial arts, and Royce Gracie was a 175-pound man, and he was defeating all these monsters. That was street fighters or taekwondo, but it showed the importance of how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. A smaller guy could defeat these large giants who were actually good fighters. Also, it went to show how dangerous and effective that martial art was.
Yeah, and today everybody pretty much know, right? Everybody that is a high-level fighter in any event, UFC, Pride, now, like events like the one, different events, every event know that if you don't have background of ground game and as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu ground game, because I have a wrestling ground game that's really important as well. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu ground game, if you don't know, you're not gonna last long. So you need to learn that. But of course, that's not the only thing, right? You need to have a little bit of good understanding of taking down, like judo and wrestling. You need to have a really good Muay Thai and boxing skills to survive standing if you want to bring it to the ground. So right now it's a real mixed martial arts. Yes.
Speaking of boxing, I just recently talked to one of your former boxing coaches, Ron Frazier. I had him on recently, and he put you over big. He's like, Randy should have never beat Gonzaga. He said, I trained with Gonzaga. And he said, just naturally, he said, Randy shouldn't have beat him. He said, but that goes to talk about, Randy is a competitor also, but he was talking about, and I told him, I was like, man, Gonzaga was, he said, you don't realize how strong he was on the ground. He said, he was a nightmare. But I thought that I'd bring that up to you because Ron Frazier, really good guest also with Extreme Couture. He was a heck of a guest. But so you got your black belt at 19, Gabriel?
1999. Yeah.
99, that was it.
My fight with Randy Couture is an example of life, right? I had a couple fights that I should have won, then I lost. And I have a couple fights that I should have lose, then I won. That's how mixed martial art is. I was much stronger, faster, better control. But one position then he did, and he took me down for 1 second. I don't know if it was his head or my own knee, broke my nose. So changed the whole fight from that point on. And I broke his arm with a kick.
As I remember.
And of course, later on the fight would make some difference as well. So that's the mixed martial arts. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. So
I'll tell you what, Gabe, that fight right there is exactly what made me a fan of you. Because like I said, Randy was like growing up was my hero. And every competitor he faced, I was on the edge of my seat. And to watch you fight with that broken nose, I mean, it was, and you did not quit. I mean, you just kept going and going. And that when you threw that kick, and you can see his arm break. I mean, when he goes to block it, it just, his forearm breaks. But before we go into that, your MMA debut was April 4th, 2003 in Santos, Brazil. Is that correct? Was that your first fight?
Yes.
Was you nervous?
I was, but was a weird, good problem for me because it wasn't that much of a problem. I was going to fight my guy in my division, heavyweight division, and the guy didn't show up. So they asked if someone was in the backstage would like to take the fight. And a guy, Cicero Costa, one of the really good black belts today, have a good gym in Brazil. He took the fight, but it was literally the double of him, like size-wise. So he didn't have much margin of chance to win. But even though he took the fight because he was tough, he didn't care about. And I got kind of a easy win. It's really good for debut because then you have a little bit more confidence. Yes, it was a good debut.
Well, I tell you, man, April, that was in 2003, and you skyrocketed. Once you got into the UFC, I think it was Kevin Jordan you had your debut against. And that Superman punch, man, that you landed on that, I'll never forget. I mean, he was like a statue falling. I mean, and that was your welcoming to the UFC right there. And you went on a tear. I mean, you went on to defeat some really good fighters. And the fight that most people, your casual MMA fans are going to talk about is your legendary, iconic head kick knockout of Mirko Krokop. Before that fight, when you guys go to touch gloves, there is a look on your face, man. Like because you were playing with house money. Everybody thought Crocop was going to go on, defeat you. You were just a stepping stone, and he was going to go on and whip Randy and was going to rule the heavyweight division. But even Couture himself had picked you that fight. He said that he thought that you would win. That fight, when you were staring him down, if you go back, if you're a fan and you're checking this out, go back, watch the stare down with Gonzaga and Crocop in their first fight. Gonzaga knew something. It was almost like you had a secret. I mean, again, was you nervous that fight?
I was really nervous before the fight, couple weeks before, days before, because people may not know, but at that time he was in the really high level on his game. It wasn't a Crocop that was losing because of the age. He was in high level of his game, and he had a couple knockouts before, but I knew I had the ground game much ahead of him, so I would get him to the ground and win the fight with the ground game. That was my game plan. But training for everything, because it's MMA, you need to train all the aspects of the fight. And I did train a lot of stand-up before. If you check my fights before his fight, I do throw some high kicks, but was missing the kicks. I didn't connect any. But I was used to throw some high kicks before. I always train the high kick because I believe it was a surprise, especially when someone see me, they don't think I'm gonna kick, and the surprise aspect in the fight always helps.
I mean, you took the fight to the ground easy. I mean, he threw a kick, you doubled him, and you just ground and pounded him, man. That into that first round, he was cut up already, and I think in that second one, he was so beat up and winded and this is Crocop, like you said, man, he was on top of his game. He was a number 1 or 2 heavyweight in the world. And you were probably in the top 10 at the time. Honestly, I mean, you were on a tear yourself, but people didn't realize it was almost like this myth, almost the Pride fighters. It was really before they all started coming over to the UFC, where I had always thought that the competition level was superior.
Yeah, the rule set helped me a little bit as well, because in the Pride you couldn't do elbow on the ground, but you could kick on the ground. What's different rule set? And BJJ in UFC, you cannot kick on the ground, but you can elbow. So it's a little bit different there. And I think that was different. Was the rope. When you use the cage as a wall, it's different than the rope. Then you bend over. Your foot can slide backwards. It's a little bit different setup. So that kind of helped me, because I was more training for that than him. He was more different game plan. And of course, we read his game. His game was really clear. He had a bunch of fights. Then he won the same way. So I really studied his walking and how he walk, how he attack, where should I walk, and we trained that for the fight to avoid his power kick, and works. Was a game plan of studying and apply my game on him. So a lot of people don't remember, because they just see the highlight. The highlight was the kick, but the whole fight was ground and pounding him. I was ground and pounding him the whole fight. And I remember when I threw the kick, I was thinking, oh, it's 30 seconds to the end of the fight, the end of the round. So I'm going to throw my hardest kick I can to his arm. And if he blocks, he's going to feel the arm. He's going to back down a little. And then we're going to have a couple seconds before then the round going to be over. But he lowered the hand, thinking that was a rape kick.
Man, and it absolutely shell-shocked everybody. You, in mixed martial arts, if you're a hardcore fan, there's a few moments in time you knew where you were at when something happened. when Gonzaga knocked out Krokop with that head kick, you know where you were at and who you were with watching, because I can remember the crowd. We would all rent UFCs. I think this one was on at free TV, actually. I think this might have been on a Spike or something. And we all came out of our seats, man. I mean, it was, and you followed it up with a 1-2 on the ground, too. It was epic. It was violent. And up there with Henderson knocking out Bisping in the top, in my opinion, of knockouts. So you go on to fight Randy in a classic, a war of attrition, a battle, man, where y'all are back and forth on each other. You fall short, but you go on in your career, man, you have battles with everybody. And let me tell you something. I said this the other night when I had Mark Munoz on. I looked at Mark Munoz's record, and he fought the who's who in that division. And you did too. You have fought Stipe Miocic. You have fought, everybody. And every time the Shane, I'm going to tell you a story real fast. I know you probably don't care, but this is on my honeymoon, Gabe. Listen to this. On my honeymoon, you fought Shane Carwin, right? Okay. I was supposed to get to that fight, but my wife and me got married that day it was in Columbus, Ohio, that fight was. My wife went to bed, and somehow we got a cabin in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And I was like, wanting to watch this fight bad. So I rent the fight when she falls asleep. And you and Carwin are fighting, and you have him rocked. And he goes to the ground, and I jump out of the bed and wake her up. And I said, he's going to win. It's getting ready to happen. He's getting ready to get another title shot. And then Carwin, who anybody knows, he's such a monster human being. He can smack a man, and they're going to go down. And he just caught you with that right and went down, and I felt like my heart dropped to my stomach, man. But my wife woke up. She said, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "Gonzaga just about won to get another title shot." But that's just the story how my life works. But man,
yeah, no, that fight was kind of, he's so strong, and his hands so big. I have big hands, but he have bigger hands. The only person that have bigger hands than him is probably the other heavyweight that I know.
Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar. The only one. But he have big hands, yes. And that caught, this division, one punch changed everything.
That is it. And you know what? You rocked him with a sick cross. He was stunned. You took him down effortless. He almost pulled a Liddell and somehow got to his feet, and that was impressive. For the dude just to get up after being hit by you, because you had knocked out, I think it might have been, was it Chris Turkshire? I can't remember, but you had just come off a knockout. You just knocked somebody else out too. And I was so happy. But you fought Dos Santos. We could sit here and talk about everybody that you in that division. Heck, I think you fought Derek Lewis, didn't you?
Yeah, the last fight.
You have fought everybody from a lot of different generational, parts. And there's two guys that I always wanted to see you match up with. Actually, one guy I liked was Arlovsky. I always thought you and Arlovsky would have made a really good fight, but I kind of wanted you guys to be on the same team and train together. I always wanted to see that. I thought y'all would have made for a heck of a fight, though. I wanted to see you beat Tim Sylvia. And I wanted to see you tame Brock Lesnar. I thought that if you and Lesnar went to the ground, you could submit him. I always told everybody that when Lesnar was on his tear.
Yeah, no, the big names I didn't have the opportunity to fight was Frank Mir, Brock Lesnar, Tim Silva. I did when I arrived here, he was coming out by retiring, but yeah.
The Lesnar fight, I thought had you beat Carwin, that was next. Let's just be honest, because Carwin went on to fight him. Was it UFC 1? No, that was Mir and Lesnar. They fought that summer, but that was going to be the winner of you and Carwin was going to fight Lesnar.
Probably, yes.
I'm telling you, that would have been, you would have won that fight. There ain't no doubt, because Lesnar did not like to get punched. When Kane hit him, he was going cartwheels.
His reflex wasn't sharp yet. So every time he get like one punch, he get lost. He don't know where to go.
And that's not a shot on Lesnar, because he's a heck of a wrestler. I mean, control. You know, he was a heck of a fighter. You can't take nothing to take him away. But his Achilles heel was he didn't like to be punched. I mean, it was
Yeah,
obvious. And you like to punch and kick and submit. You were a really well-rounded fighter, and I always thought, and had a heck of a chin. I mean, you took punches and gave punches from the biggest human beings on the planet that fought at the time. But let's talk about something else real fast. I'm not going to keep you on here much longer, Gabe. I know you've been rolling probably tonight and teaching, but tell us a little bit. After your UFC run, you got into bare knuckle boxing and fought. You boxed another, legendary MMA heavyweight in Bigfoot Silva, dude, and knocked him out. How was that, and how did that come about?
yeah. I was literally I was traveling. I was in Las Vegas to compete the BJJ World Championship as Master Division, and a day before, they sent me a message talking about, no, I want to put you to fight, but I said, no, man, I don't know. And I wasn't looking for, but they convinced me with a normal fight with a good name, and they told me if I fight with him and win, they would give me a title shot, and they would have this and that, and okay, I talk few guys after this weekend. Then I won the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World on my division, and I caught up with them, and I said, okay, let's do that, and then I did it. Big Silva is a big guy, but I knew that I was faster than him, so my game plan was don't let him touch me and trying to play the game, because in one sense, it's easier than MMA. The sense that you have just one aspect of the fight to worry about. It's like 3D and 2D, right? When you're gonna see something 2D, it's easier to draw than 3D, because have another aspect. You need to combine everything together. Boxing is just boxing. I'm not a world champion boxing, but I trained box for a long time. I started training box back in Brazil before I come to here, and I did a lot of boxing training. It's not just box for MMA. I did 2 years straight with a coach from Brazil, Cebola, that was my coach at the time. 2 years, 3 times a week, just boxing. And people today's, they don't do much of that, like do the real martial arts. Like I did boxing, like I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for years and years before I really get on this. So I did my boxing lessons for this fight, and I got it, and I applied with my coach, then boxing coach Rocky Gonzalez, that was helping me for this fight, with my friend of mine that was Muay Thai coach, Ibele Reis. So we playing for this boxing no gloves fight, more agility and speed, and trying to connect and get out.
Man, I'll tell you, that was a heck of a win. And that was something. So what happened after you won? They didn't give you a title shot, or how did that exactly go? Because I was looking forward to it. I was like all up for it. I'm like, I've got something to follow now.
I had a good, that was a good fight and everything, but COVID hit, so everything was shutting down, everything shut down. So the guys didn't contact me anymore. And to tell you the truth, the guy didn't give everything he promised on paper, because he told him one thing and it happened a little bit different. Kind of was sneaky, right? He was kind of sneaky with what he's promising to me, And I said, okay, let it go. I'm not pursuing that anyway. It's a good money, but money is not everything. And I did not call them back. I didn't ask for nothing, so they didn't call me back. And if they do call and offer me a good amount, I go there and fight. But I wasn't looking, and I didn't look for.
You've had a heck of a career, Gons. That's what I always called you, Gons. But I mean, when you look back on it, man, or I mean, you've really made a difference because you were, and I mean, even Joe Rogan when he was talking, he said, "Man, Gonzaga's jiu-jitsu for a heavyweight is on another level." And it, like I said, when I look back on my life and people I rooted for, and when I got into MMA, guys that I wanted to emulate, you were right up there with them. So awesome career, but I've got a few fast questions before you get off here, just to let everybody get to know Gabriel Gonzaga, the person. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, who's your favorite band or musician?
I'm eclectic in the sense of music. I like everything, so I'm not picky. But the style of music that I like more is Brazilian funk. So don't have much here, but that's what I listen normally to train. But I listen everything, like hip hop, rock, everything.
Did you pick Danzig Mother to come out for, or did somebody else pick it for you?
Was a friend of mine that picked for me, and when he explained a little bit the lyrics, the time I didn't have much of English. I said, "Oh, that's a nice music," and of course, the song is amazing.
Yeah,
But
it's tough.
I
It
didn't.
suited you to a T.
Yeah, the feeling for the music is really good and fit well. And then I keep using. At the time, people didn't use the same entrance always. Only Vanderlei used to do that. Kind of few guys used to do that. So the guy picked this one for me for that fight, and then for that fight on, I keep choosing the same one.
Well, it was good, dude. It was. I would thank that friend because it was menacing and suited you coming out. What would you say your favorite food is?
Favorite food, meat. I like meat a lot, but like I said, I'm not picky. Eat anything, but Brazilian barbecue is one of my favorites.
Man, that sounds good. Brazilian barbecue.
Yeah, normally what we do is we get the meat and just put like sea salt and temper and cook and eat. Just meat.
Now, Gabriel, that sounds pretty good. Do you fix it up towards Massachusetts?
Yeah, I bring actually my gym right now. I just opened a new facility here with a partner in Lamson, Massachusetts. Beside the same door, we have a Brazilian butcher. I said, okay, now I know where to pick my meat.
Now, what are you going to do when you've got these lightweight fighters, man, and they're all eating, and it's hard for them to make weight up?
Oh man, the good food is really hard to. I never understood how they cut weight.
Oh gosh, when I thought I was 20, I'm 38 now. It's been 10 years, and I was one. I'm a professional wrestler now, so long are the days of cutting weight or getting low to 205. I mean, I'm 265 now, but you know, I don't see how they do it either, dude. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, cut weight is for me one of the hardest part of the sport right now. I don't agree with the idea behind that, but if everybody doing it, you don't do, you're behind. So you need to do at least a little bit. Maybe not how extreme like them, but at least a little bit to be even.
All right. So you said you're not a picky eater. So what is Gabriel Gonzaga's favorite junk food? If it's midnight and he's hungry, what's he going to eat?
Junk food, burger. I love burgers. I eat
See, I don't
burger.
consider that a junk food. I think it's a good meal.
That's not a meal, man. That's not a meal. For Brazilian, that's not a meal. That's just a snack. Burger is not a meal. Meal is rice, beans, pasta, meat. But I like burgers. Yes.
I do too, man. You can't beat a hamburger. I mean, you can just throw everything on it. The more the merrier. So
Yeah.
let's say here, all-time favorite fighter. I mean, they can be a boxer, they can be a jiu-jitsu specialist, or a mixed martial artist. Who influenced you to get into fighting?
Who influenced me was my coach, Van der Braga. I was a teenager, so I didn't know about nothing in martial arts. But then I started training in my condo. I had the spot, so I started training for him. And he was one guy that used to do the before MMA, the real body. Yes, no gloves,
brutal,
just speedos.
Yeah.
Go
Marco
inside the
Huas
ring
style.
And yeah, when I hear that the guy that developed the UFC, he got inspired by the movie. What the
was it Bloodsport?
Two men in, one man out, two men in. And that's was how was the rule set. Two men in, one man out. That was the real. If you can survive, ask to stop and you lose. That was, and he did a couple fights in the time when I was kid and seeing he wasn't big. He was 160, so he was nice to see. But if you talk about people with everybody know, Rickson Gracie is the first, because the time he did was to show to everybody the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. After him, I love Randy Couture. His game playing idea had the mindset behind the fighter. He was the best one. And Anderson Silva, by the time then he will stay as a champion. So he controlled the division for so long, and that's only few people can do that.
Oh man, I agree with you. And you know what? You basically went into my next question, which was if you had to pick a MMA Mount Rushmore, Gabriel Gonzaga gets to pick a Mount Rushmore of mixed martial artists, 4 of them. Who would you pick up there or put up there? Excuse me.
The best 4. That's So Rickson, Randy Couture, and Anderson Silva. That's the best 3. One of people forget about, but maybe better than all the 3 together. The problem is his division is Jimmy Jones. Jimmy Jones.
Oh yeah, John Jones.
No, Jimmy Jones.
Demetrius Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mighty Mouse.
Yes.
Oh,
He
yeah,
probably
man.
is the best of all. But because the weight division, he don't have much recognition. Yeah. But in all aspect, I think he combined all of them. Like long, controlling his division, really smart behind the head, like behind the fighting itself, like game playing, and really well developing all aspects of the fight, like stand up, ground, everything. So
his endurance was really crazy, and and his speed, he could fight 5 rounds and not even slow down. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah, but because his division don't have like the fancy, nice knockouts.
Yeah,
because the knockouts you need to have weight behind the hand. So this division don't have much weight behind the hand.
I couldn't agree more, actually, Gabe. Man, that's a good pick, like you said. And where he's not got the competition, like the big heavy hand knockout artists and stuff, he's not going to get the attention that a lot of the upper weight divisions get. And I've got one more good question for you, and I'm going to let you go get you some rest, you grizzly bear looking man. Your dream fight, if you could have one dream fight, where at and what song would you have came out to?
Dream fight?
Yes, one that you didn't get to have that if you could have had it at any point in your career, which
I
one would
never,
you
I
have?
never had this. What a lot of people have, like desire to fight someone. I never had this target on some head. I what I do like is try to be the best than I can be. So I have some guys then I would like to fight, but I don't know if I would win. So doesn't really matter. What matters is I would try to win.
Yeah,
So that's so that's why I never picture someone, because the times change, right? Sometimes was when I fought Silva, I didn't have any fear about him. But I remember when I was in UFC and he was in another and he did a flying knee on I think it was Arlovsk. I don't remember who. Said, man, it would be tough to fight this guy. I didn't want to fight him.
yeah.
So that's the transition. So I didn't want to fight him at the time, but after I had desire to fight him. So that's why I never had a name because of that. But of course, I would like to fight like maybe Brock Lesnar, because it was a big name. Everybody knew him, and he's big and kind of would be scared. So I wouldn't. I would have to have the perfect game plan. Yes, Brock Lesnar would be
Oh, I
one.
would have. That's one of my dream fights, dude. I'm glad that you glad that you wanted that. You know, would have liked that, but a hefty payday also for you, and that would have been good to
Yeah,
see a guy that's a well-respected dude get his due and get him a good payday too. Like you said, Frank Mir, that would have been a good one. I mean, that would have been a good fight.
Frank Mir. I would like to fight another guys, but not in the sense of respect, in the sense of showing off, more in the sense of respect, trying to see if I would be able to,
Yeah.
trying to see if I would be able to win. In the sense, I don't know if I would be able to win Brock Lesnar, but I would like to try.
Yeah.
And like same thing with Minotauro, like
Ooh, that would have been a good one too, man. Did y'all
yeah,
ever roll together? Did y'all ever grapple or anything?
no, we have a gap of age and then kind of make off.
So let me ask you something. Is Noguera younger or older than you? Because he looks 20 years older. He always looked to be in
He's
his
a little bit
50s.
older, not 20 years, but a little bit older.
He
Yes.
always looked, because I watched a fight the other night of Minotauro and it said he was 31. And I'm like, my goodness, he looks to be 51 in the face. I mean, that man's traveled. But no,
Yeah.
I don't, like I said, man, I know you've got a busy day ahead of you. I love your shirt. Square Jiu Jitsu, guys. Gabriel Napal Gonzaga. That's his school up in, are you still in Ludlow?
No, I mean Worcester, Mass, and Leominster, Mass. So
And you've got your own school, right?
yes,
Awesome. And listen, everyone, he's got a butcher shop right next to him that's got Brazilian barbecue. Am I right on that, Gabe?
yes.
So if you go up there and get your hind end kicked by Gonzaga and his crew, you can walk right next door after it and at least get something good to eat.
Gonna make it like behind you, Rocky. So we're gonna go there and
Yeah,
beat some meat.
there you go. I'll tell you what, Gabe, thank you so much, dude, for coming on here. Thank you for being an inspiration to me, man, and a lot of other guys. I mean, a lot of people could go and see your story because, you know, there's a lot of stuff I didn't touch on that I'm aware of that you went through, and it's really inspiring. You fought a lot of fights with a lot of mental anguish, really, and came out. So, like I said, thank you for being on here. If I could ever get up to Square Jiu Jitsu and visit one day, man, I would love to. You're doing great things. You've had a heck of a career, and you're a good guy. You're one of the good guys, dude. I mean,
Thank you, thank you. I try to be. Someone need to give it the good examples there.
absolutely. Like you said, you know, Randy was a guy I looked up to, and you earned my respect as from watching you as a fighter, how you battled. and show true heart. You went into the cage, you never had a boring night, you brought it every time. And that's somebody that I want my kid to be able, if he gets into it, to look up to. So thank you for being on a Wild Time podcast, Gabe. And dude, have a good night tonight. Go lay down, eat you some a burger if you want to.
I love it. See you, man.
Hey, take it easy. Thank you, guys.